Welcome to part 3 in our journey to Solo, a Star Wars story series. Today we'll be looking back at the 1997 book, The Paradise Snare. Written by A.C. Crispin, it was the first book in the Han Solo Trilogy, and even had cover art by legendary movie poster artist Drew Struzan. Today I'll run you through the basic plot of the story, and discuss if any of it might be relevant to the upcoming film. The first 2 chapters fill us in on Han's early life. He was an orphan, begging on the street at a very young age. He's taken in by a man named Garrus Strike, who had a habit of collecting orphans and recruiting them for his gang aboard the ship Trader's Luck. He would train them to be pickpockets, and as they got older, they would be involved in larger and larger scams. If any of the children underperformed or angered Strike, he would beat them without mercy. Han's only friend in the gang is a Wookiee named Dulana, who serves as the ship's cook. He's able to learn to speak Shriwook thanks to their friendship. When he's 19, Han develops a plan to escape, but is caught by Strike and his men. Dulana fights them all off, but is killed in the process. Heartbroken, Han stows away in a droid-controlled freighter and leaves the Trader's Luck. He travels to the tropical planet Eulesia, responding to an ad seeking a talented pilot. Han was a talented swoop racer, but didn't have as much experience hauling cargo. But he gives them a fake name, lies his way into the position, and uses a simulator to get up to speed. Eulesia has a very violent atmosphere, and he basically learns to fly under the worst possible conditions, which explains his skills as a pilot. Eulesia's primary export is spice, a drug mined on Kessel and then processed on the planet by workers. The workers are part of a cult run by the Talandatil aliens who inhabit the planet. Those aliens are loyal to the Hutts and have the ability to telepathically project extreme pleasure into the weak-minded, kinda like a very specific Jedi mind trick. The cult members quickly become addicted to what they call the exaltation, and believed that it was because their overseers had divine powers. When they are fully dependent on the exaltation, they're shipped off to be slaves elsewhere in the galaxy. Recognizing that Han is not falling for their scheme, they provide him with a quote-unquote bodyguard to keep him in line. This guard is named Murg, and he's a cat-like creature known as a Togorian. He came to Eulesia searching for his long-lost mate, but the trail had gone cold, and serving as a guard is providing him with the money he needs to continue the search. Han's ultimate plan is to gain piloting experience and credits so he can join the Imperial Academy. He wishes to be an officer, someone that would be respected rather than looked down upon, but he meets a cult member named Bria Theron and they fall in love over the course of several months. He tells her the exaltation is a lie, and after confirming it for herself, she agrees to help Han rob and escape the cult leaders. Murg at first tries to stop them, but Bria reveals that his mate is being held at another camp on Eulesia, so Han, Murg, and Bria successfully rob the cult, rescue Murg's mate, and escape. After dropping off Murg, Bria and Han continue to Corellia and then Coruscant. They're forced to dodge the Hutts who put a bounty on them. Fortunately, they only know Han by his false name. Bria also begins having withdrawals from the exaltation and sees that Han will not follow his own dreams if he's worried about her. She leaves him and encourages him to enroll in the Imperial Navy. His heart is broken, but he does so. He celebrates his acceptance into the Academy, but runs into Garrus Strike, who recognized the alias the Hutts put a bounty on and chased Han down. Another bounty hunter enters the fray, and after a tough fight, Han is the sole survivor. He places his clothes and false identification on the unknown bounty hunter whose face was blasted off, and officially enters Imperial training the next day. On to the review. Something I really like about this book is the way it handles the origin story. It doesn't take events that we know happened in Han's past and then check them off one by one. Instead, it looks at Han's character in A New Hope and explains why he is the way he is. Why does he like and understand Wookiees? Because he was basically raised by one. Why does he have such a skewed sense of honor? Because he was forced into a punishing life of crime. Why is he so skeptical of religion and the Force? Because his first interaction with religion was a complete sham. I really enjoyed this book, and by the way, it was my first time reading it. One of my favorite segments from the book is when Han winds up on Alderaan and decides to try to sell some drugs for extra cash. He is sufficiently smooth, I would say, but it's Alderaan, so nobody wants the drugs, and that is hilarious to me. Just a whole world full of people that are too blessed to be stressed. If you've seen Parks and Recreation, the description of Alderaan and its people reminded me a lot of Eagleton. Beyond Han, the rest of the characters were good, especially Murg. Han and Murg have kind of a will-they-won't-they friendship. As a tall, strong, hairy creature, the Togorian is basically a stand-in for Chewie, and my reaction to him was a roller coaster. At first I was like, I don't want this cheap imitation of Chewie, but then they started bonding and I really liked him, and then I felt guilty, like I was cheating on Chewbacca. I thought the whole plot devised by the Hutts and the Tallanda Till was very interesting. The idea that an alien species can manipulate other species just because they don't have a full understanding of the first species' biology is compelling and twisted. The only real negative thing I have to say about the book is that it could be overly self-referential at times. There were a lot of lines about Han being scruffy, just little jokes like that. It wasn't the end of the world by any means, but I really hope the film shies away from that kind of humor. Speaking of the film, will any of the content in the Paradise Snare be relevant to Solo, a Star Wars story? Looks like some of it, yeah. At the time of this recording, we've only seen the Super Bowl TV spot and the teaser trailer, but it would appear that Han does indeed join the Imperial Navy. He also claims to have been running scams on the streets since he was 10. Whether the film is purposefully borrowing from legends or the stories are just similar by chance remains to be seen, but I think we can expect that Han's origin story won't be completely out of left field. Months ago, a lot of people thought that Woody Harrelson might be playing Garrus Shrike. That is not the vibe I'm getting from this character at all. I see him as more of a kindly figure from his past, something more like Bador from Han Solo in The Lost Legacy, who we talked about last week. Bria and Kira have somewhat similar names, and I could see them as both being that kind of first love character that breaks Han's heart, but I think that's where the similarities will stop. It's kinda hard to describe, but what we've seen in the Solo trailers so far just gives me an all-around similar feeling to reading the Han Solo Trilogy. Just a fun, overall tone. And lines about Han wanting to be the best pilot in the galaxy, stuff like that. If you're getting antsy waiting for Solo, the Paradise Snare might be a fun read for you, just as long as you understand the movie won't be a direct adaptation, but there might be some fun, consistent threads to pick out come May 25th. But that's it for today. Next week we'll be covering the second book in this trilogy, The Hutt Gambit, as we continue our journey to Solo, a Star Wars story. If you haven't already, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, and consider checking out my Patreon page. As always, thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you.